Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we are continuing on in Mark chapter 6, and Jesus has sent the disciples out, given them authority to cast out unclean spirits, to proclaim the kingdom, and to teach people. And they've come back and they've reported everything to Jesus. And so now Jesus says, okay, let's get away for a little bit. And so we're going to pick it up at Mark chapter 6 and beginning at verse 30. So Mark 6:30. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, Jesus said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. Well, many of you know where this story is going to go. It's going to go to the feeding of the 5,000. But before we get there, I just want to talk a little bit about the interruption. And so the plan was to get away, to get some rest, kind of a retreat, if you will. And yet everyone saw where Jesus was going. They got in the boat. There's only so many places to land the boat. And so they figured it out. They ran ahead of them. They got there and they got out of the boat. And here's all these people. And Jesus has compassion upon them. They're like sheep without a shepherd. And so the first thing he does is he begins to teach them. Teaches them many things. Mark doesn't tell us what all he taught them. I would kind of like to know that. But for Mark, it looks like the lesson is going to be the miracle. That's where he's going, the feeding of the 5,000. What I want us to focus on today, kind of this maybe tension, if you will, between the retreat and the interruption, between the work of piety and the work of compassion. So John Wesley, kind of a famous pastor, theologian from the 1700s, was very influential, and his theology and his teaching, his preaching continues to impact the church today, and especially the Church of the Nazarene. And so John Wesley taught about means of grace. Means of grace, the ways that God would come to us with his grace. Not just the grace to save us, but the grace to transform us, kind of like his transforming presence. And so where can you expect God to meet you with his transforming presence so that we become more like Jesus? Well, certainly one of those ways is works of piety. And what that means is something that we do that will make us closer to God, closer to Jesus. And so retreats, kind of taking a break from the hustle, the bustle, the demands of life, and trying to get away to a solitary place and spend some time focusing on Jesus and listening to Jesus. Personal devotions, doing this each day, taking a break in the day, whether it's in the morning, the middle of the day, maybe the end of the day, where you kind of get some quiet time to read and to listen to Jesus. Sometimes we do this through going to church. We do it through Bible studies. We do it through spending some time in prayer with someone. But all these are considered works of piety, things that we do to kind of focus in on Jesus, and that we can expect Jesus to meet us when we focus, when we seek him, with his transforming grace, his transforming presence to make us more like Jesus. And so in some sense, that's what was going on when Jesus says, let's get away to a solitary place. You guys need some rest. You need some time with me. But then the crowds are there. Somehow the crowds scouted it out. They knew where they were going. And so they get there. And instead of actually getting away from the crowds, it's like they went to another crowd. But Jesus saw them, and they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he had compassion upon them. And so this moves us to kind of the second type of means of grace, a work of mercy, a work of compassion, that whenever we kind of give ourselves to helping someone else at their point of need, it's not just us helping, but Jesus tends to meet us there. He's present. And he doesn't just kind of help us help whoever we're helping, but in that process, he's transforming us, and so that we become more like him. And so kind of the second type of means of grace is referred to as works of mercy, that whenever we're showing mercy to someone, not just giving them a second chance by forgiving them, but meeting them at their point of need with whatever resources we have, having compassion upon them and helping them, that whenever we do that, we can expect that Jesus will be present, and that Jesus will not only be present to the person that we're helping, but present to transform us and make us more like him. So you have works of piety, works of mercy. Both are means of grace. Both are areas, activities where we can expect Jesus to show up with his transforming presence to make us more like him. Now, one more thing that John Wesley taught. He taught that works of mercy take priority over works of piety. That, in other words, if I'm in the midst of my quiet time and somebody calls me and needs to talk to me, then I need to interrupt my quiet time and listen to them and try to help them and pray for them and whatever it might be. That if I'm on my way to church and somebody stops me from getting there because they're in need, maybe through a phone call, maybe they show up before the service, maybe I see them on the side of the road, whatnot. But works of mercy take priority over works of piety. And we kind of see that here with Jesus, and this is where Wesley would get his teaching, that Jesus didn't ignore the crowds and say, okay, no, we're on retreat, we got to get up the mountain, you guys just hang here, I'll be back to you at some point. No, Jesus saw the crowd, they were like sheep without a shepherd, he was moved with compassion, and so the retreat got interrupted, and Jesus begins to teach. And he's going to put the disciples to work pretty soon. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, make yourself available to the transforming presence of Jesus to make us more like him. And whether that be through works of piety or through works of mercy, but make yourself available to receive Jesus and his transforming presence that we can be more like him. Well, God bless and have a great day and attend the means of grace. God bless.